what you were just talking about before, Chris, not taking McCluggage and Berry and these guys over to Perth. Is this a big bonus now coming in fresh against the Bulldogs?
Oh, I think so. It was my first experience of the trip to Perth last week, and I think it took us 6 hours and 45 minutes to get across there, and a little bit quicker on the way back. But it's a big trip. So by the time I got back on Monday night, I was pretty happy that we rested those 3 young players last week, and obviously Dane with his suspension and Dan McStay with a sore shoulder. So that puts us in a position this week where we've been able to inject 5 fresh players into our team, which I think is a good thing. Time will tell, but I feel good about that.
You must fancy your chances then, Chris, because you've looked at resting those 3 back for this, didn't fight Zorko's suspension, so he could definitely come back for this.
Oh, it wasn't so much of a fancy the chances against the Bulldogs as much as it was for those younger players having them fresh for the last 4 weeks of the season. We're going to have to play very, very well to beat the Bulldogs. They're last year's premiers. They've won their last 3 games in a row. They seem to have found their mojo again, so we're totally respectful of the way that they go about playing the game. We know that we have to be at our very best tomorrow night to challenge them.
What do you make of Bob Murphy being a travelling reserve, so to speak?
Oh, I don't know. Bevo always comes up with some unique things, so we'll just wait and see with that one. We haven't lost too much sleep over it.
Will you target JJ this week? Because you saw him last week, got sort of let off the chain a bit and dominated against Essendon.
Yeah, I think the Bulldogs have done a really good job of making him a harder target. He doesn't play in any one position at the moment. He moves all over the field, which always is, if you want to tag a bloke that moves all over the field, you do so knowing you're going to disrupt your own team a fair bit. So they've managed that really well over the last few weeks, and there's a number of players in the Bulldogs team that you need to make sure that you don't let them have too much of an influence on the game. But the main part about when you play against them is they're such a good contested ball team. You've got to match them in that area, so you've got to hunt as well as they hunt, and that's our big focus.
Last time you played them, you were actually up, I think, by about 32 points at half time. Do you owe them one, do you think, after that performance, the fade out?
It was a young team playing against a pretty experienced team on their own home ground. What it did give us was belief that we could challenge them. I think the game was, I think we led that game for 90 odd minutes. And it was only in the last 10 minutes of the game that they got away from us. We were really disappointed that day, but also very excited about the way we played against a really good team.
You've been resting young guys particularly, but have you thought of resting, or does Tom Rockliff need a rest? He looks like he's playing sore, and he was terrific a couple of weeks ago, obviously, in the tag.
Yeah, he was our best player a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I'm not crediting his form, but he looks like he's a bit sore. Has there been any thoughts of giving him a rest?
No, not at this point in time, and Tom would be the first one to come and put his hand up if he thought he wasn't right to go. So, no thoughts of that at all.
Is he playing through pain?
I think a lot of players have got a little bit of pain going on at this time of the year. We've been playing now for 5 months, and so there's some sore bodies running out there each weekend. Tom obviously hurt his shoulder in the game down Tassie against Hawthorn. Made a recovery from that. It's still lurking around, but no, if he wasn't right to play, we wouldn't be playing him. So no excuses there.
Have you been, maybe asking if you're surprised is silly, but are you surprised at the way Dane Beams has come back from his shoulder? He came back quite quickly after the Mumford hit, and his form's just on the up and up.
Yeah, it probably wasn't the first couple of weeks. He probably struggled a little bit with adapting, but a lot of the soreness has gone away now. So his last 2 weeks have been, Dane Beams back to his powerful best. So hopefully we can see a bit more of that tomorrow night.
An interesting promotion this week with a number of new Australian citizens being indoctrinated there in front of everyone. What do you think about that, Chris?
Oh, I think it's great. I think it's 51 people, 24 different nationalities. Our footy club likes to embrace people from all walks of life. So it's a great ceremony that's going to occur tomorrow at the game, and I think most of those people will get to watch their first game of AFL footy, and hopefully we can convert them as long-time supporters of the game.
How are you feeling about moving up to this state? Do you feel like a Queenslander yet?
I feel like a Brisbane Lions person. I've made that transition. I was a Hawthorn bloke for a long time, but certainly I feel 100% entrenched on the journey of our footy club. Our rise back to a team that's respected. We feel like we've made some steps in the right direction this year. Our aim is we've got 4 weeks to go. We want to finish on a strong note, and that's all we're focusing on.
You talk about the journey, Chris. There's players that have gone out this week that probably didn't deserve to be dropped, and there's players in the NEFL that are in good form that just can't push their way in. Are you happy with the depth that you're building?
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things I know, was at Hawthorn. I've seen the same at Geelong, same at the Bulldogs. Your reserves team's got to be strong and competing in finals, and it looks as if that's what we'll do this year. I think we've won 12 or 13 games in the NEFL and had 2 losses. It'll be an interesting game tomorrow, the curtain raiser against the Swans, because the Swans are the other top side. So it'll be a good test for our blokes. But yes, depth's extremely important part of becoming a successful club. Teams win matches, but squads win premierships, and to have that depth is vital.
How do you feel about this scrap for trying to get off the bottom now? North obviously got a win last week, and you're a game plus percentage behind. There's not many weeks left. Yeah,
we've got 4 games to go. They're all in our control. The good part about it is, we play North in the last game, and there's some other teams that could finish bottom as well. So we're just trying to do our best to win as many games as we can, and where we finish on the ladder is where we finish on the ladder. But the important part is we finish on a strong note, regardless of the ladder position.
To be fair, though, is there any benefit from actually moving one spot up?
Look, people say about the number 1 draft pick, but gee, sometimes the number 2 draft pick's better than the number 1 draft pick, as it turns out, or the number 10's better. So we don't want to get caught up in that. It's not healthy to think that way. Our aim is to try and win as many games as we can this season, and be able to say at the end that we've improved from last year, which we probably already have because we've won more games. But that doesn't mean we want to stop.
Well, what does it actually do, Chris? People talk about let's finish the year strong and let's win some games, and it gives us confidence. Or what does it actually tangibly? What does it do?
I think it gives the group optimism going forward. There's no doubt about that. It's better to finish on a strong note than a poor note. The psychology of sport is an interesting thing, but optimism is a really important part of it, and I think that's what we're trying to develop here, and it just adds momentum going into your pre-season. And more importantly, we exist for our members and our supporters, and we want them to look forward with hope. And what that usually does, if they're thinking that way, is it transfers into membership and more merchandise sold, and it helps the club overall. So that's why it's so important.